Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting's going to have two parts to it, but we'll go right from one right into the other. The first part will be our work session, where we'll take care of approving the minutes from, or voting whether or not to approve the minutes. I shouldn't jump that far ahead. Anyways, we'll look at the minutes from the last meeting, and then we'll take care of, I think we have 3 tabled matters tonight. Once those matters are finished, then we'll get into tonight's hearings. We will ask anyone that's going to speak to come up to one of these tables and give us their name and address for the record, and then if it's about a tabled application, we'll probably open it up right to questions or comments. If it's a new application, we'll have the board member lead the applicant through the application. It just makes things go a little bit smoother when we do it that way. But I neglected to say, and I can't believe you guys were over there and didn't, you were dying to remind me, weren't you? I could tell, yeah. All right, feel free. That this meeting is being video recorded and broadcast live on Penfield TV's Government Access Channel, which includes Spectrum Cable 1303. It's also online at penfieldtv.org and social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube via the Town of Penfield Television. Following the proceedings, the video recording will be available on the town's website and also on streaming devices Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can search for Penfield TV in your app store, and it is free. As I was saying before, we'll have many opportunities for public comment in a number of different ways. The one I already talked about. When we do open it up to comment for anybody that's here in person, they can come up to the mics, give us name and address, and then speak their mind about the particular application. We also have a chance for folks that want to call in with comments, call that number, and you'll see me checking the screen every once in a while to see if we have any people in queue on the phone. And then the final way that people can comment tonight live is by sending in a comment or a question electronically through the town's website, as I said before. We like to point out every month that we think that the town works really hard to make sure that people in the town and citizens are aware of what's on our agenda. And why do they do that? Well, they do that so people are fully informed of their right to come in and speak about things. It helps us actually to hear comments from people about the applications, and it allows us to get the full picture, the big picture of the application, and make the best decision that we can make. How does the town do that? Well, a number of different ways. One is the town publishes the zoning board agenda on its website, posts it here at the town hall. It also sends postcards. We've all probably received them, postcards that you get in the mail. If you live within a certain distance of the subject property, you get a postcard and it says, hey, this property's under review. If you have any questions, call the town hall and you can get answers, find out what it's all about. And then perhaps the most visible way, when we're driving or walking and we see the signs on the property, look like for sale signs, but they say this property is under review or something along those lines, and they also give a phone number to call. And once again, we think that it works well for us and for the citizens of this town. All right, well, having said all that, I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great, thank you. Okay, so going to the agenda, we have the minutes from the April 17th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve those minutes and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Tabled applications. The first one is Chic-Fil-A, and I understand the applicant has once again requested that that be tabled. No?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. For the reasons stated, we have some procedural matters being tested, let's say, so we'll probably have that application in next month or the month after that, I would think. But in any event, this application is going to have to wait the decision on that one. So I'll make a motion to approve for the reasons stated.
I'll second the motion to table.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we can go to the second, which is Renwick Run.
Good evening.
Evening.
So, since you were here last in March, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've agreed that you will reduce the size of the structure from 3,200 square feet to 2,880 square feet?
That's correct.
So that's 320 square feet less, correct?
Yep.
And then also since then, you've gotten 5 letters of support from your neighbors.
Yep.
And then the reduction both reduced the proposed variance or the requested variance for the larger than permitted based upon the lot size, and also the larger than permitted based upon the square foot of the residence. And so you're still looking for variances for 3 variances: larger than permitted for the size of the lot, larger than permitted for the size of the residence, and then you're still looking for it to be 2 feet 8 inches taller than the maximum of 20 feet permitted, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. A couple things. First, I appreciate both you getting those letters of support from your neighbor and also the agreement to reduce it by 320 feet. If this is approved, there's still a 288 square foot accessory building on the property, is that correct?
We're planning to remove that.
All right, so that would be a condition if we were to propose that this be approved, and you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, with that said, I would make a motion to, well, I guess first the seeker, go through seeker.
I don't think we did that before.
Declare it a type 2 action requiring no further review.
I'll second.
All right, so on this application, we have a motion on the seeker to declare it a type 2 and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on the merits now?
So, Andy, how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to take it one variance at a time, or just lump them all in together?
As long as, I mean, you can lump them all together, that's okay. Whatever you're comfortable with.
I'm fine with that. I would make a motion to approve all 3 variances with the condition that the one property, or the one building, outbuilding, accessory building be removed.
Do you mind if I ask one question
No.
of the applicant first? How did you do it? How did you get to the point where you reduced it by the square footage? I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I appreciate it.
It
Yeah,
co- it comes-
that
It comes
everybody
down to the
appreciates
fact is we, building nothing,
Yeah,
the thought of that is if we could just have to go down 4 feet. And if you, visually, we stake the property and looking at it, and even though it's only 4 feet down, it does make a visual difference when you're pulling up to the driveway.
okay.
There's one less trailer that we'll be able to put inside, but we can place that behind the structure so it's out of sight.
Okay, good. And again, I appreciate, we all do appreciate the efforts, and also the support from your neighbors as well. So, I just wanted to ask you that so you can give yourself a little credit for doing that. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's good. So the factors we had discussion on the last time you were here about it not being in East Penfield and the size of these, this size building, accessory building, usually being in East Penfield. But with that said, it's a very large lot, and clearly the neighbors, your 5 neighbors, approve it. So it doesn't appear that there's going to be an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. It probably can't be sought by some other way. It is substantial still. There's no getting around that. But I think that the other factors outweigh that. It will not have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. And it is self-created. But again, I think the other factors outweigh that. So with that said, I would make a motion to approve this application.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve, and for the reasons so stated, and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Next tabled application is 130 Watson Road.
Good evening, Hassan Palat, 130 Watson Road.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good to see you again.
Okay, last time we were here, I think we tabled this, so then you had a chance to have some conversations with your neighbors, review the designs. I don't think we received any further communications on yes or no from anybody in terms of any of those kind of communications. So I'm just curious of an update of what we have or where
I
we
was
stand.
told that they were just going to leave it up to the town.
Okay. Okay. So
They didn't care, I mean, I don't know if they probably still care, but
I'll say, because the only letter I received, I think we received one more that was not in support. That was
Correct.
160. So we received an additional one and not in support, but nothing else in favor. That's more, I was just curious if there was, how the conversations went, if you were able to, propose any kind of landscaping, designs or ideas to
Yeah.
neighbors.
the landscaping is going up regardless, all the trees are. And we've also decided to landscape to set both sides to fully close it in.
Okay. Describe when you say landscaping in, are we talking like the arborvitaes?
The
or-
green giants,
Okay.
yep.
So in a sense, it would be, from your neighbors, it would be fairly minimized in terms of the impact for the view, or?
Correct, yeah, if any.
Okay,
I don't think it would make any, they would just see trees, yeah.
okay. But size stays the same, there's no reductions here for anything like that?
Correct.
And everything else goes that way? Okay. I don't have any further questions. No, anybody else have anything?
Oh, the applicant, the public hearing is still open. And there's a gentleman raising his hand in the back that I'm going to call in a minute. But
Perfect, yeah.
any other questions for the applicant?
No.
All right, the public hearing, this was held last month, but we held the hearing open. So I'll ask if anybody in the audience, and I know who's going to step up now, because I see you waving your hand. Come on up, sir. Sit over there and give us your name and address. I don't see anybody on the phone or electronic yet.
How you doing? Good. Oh, okay.
Hi, sorry. I'm Tom Gable. We're at 66 Cali. We're kind of behind, adjacent, on an angle
Yeah.
to the property. So unfortunately, we were unable to attend the last meeting, so I appreciate the opportunity to chat this time. And Hassan and myself and my wife, we did have a phone conversation as well. He did reach out to kind of explain a little further. So we got a little bit more clarification on what was going on. So our initial concern was, what was going to happen in the structure. Was there going to be any motor work or anything like that? And I think I think we're satisfied with the conclusion that you're just going to park there and nothing else. And our second concern was the height of the garage in kind of a landlocked area, kind of a small yard, relatively speaking. So the initial drawings that we saw were a 10-foot structure. It showed the peak in the picture, but the dimensions in the picture said 10 feet. And then when we saw 20 feet, we're like, well, that's up there a little bit. So that was our second concern. But again, we've had discussions, and If it's strictly for vehicles and parking and storage and nothing else, which Hassan assured us that that's what it was for. I understand it's a little bit shorter. Are you making it a little bit smaller?
It's 17 and a half, yeah.
17 and a half, right. So the trees around it are going to be great. I don't think they're going to actually cover 17 feet, but maybe someday down the road, I
Yeah,
think
eventually.
they'll help it look a little better. But I think at this point in time, we've said our piece. Again, from our viewpoint and angle, it's not too bad. It's just a little bit of a line of sight, I should say. But for our other neighbors who I thought were more concerned, I think, I don't know if you talked to.
I did, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, and
They said we'll leave it up to the town.
Okay, all right. So, leaving it up to the town versus the neighbors, I know there's a variance in place, and that's what these applications are for, to maybe be flexible on that for situations like this. And we've reviewed the drawings. I just kind of going over where we are.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
And
Best I could do.
and that we talked, and that our concern was basically the pitch of the height of the roof in a small neighborhood. But again, from our viewpoint, it's not a direct line of sight. There's a small percentage off our deck, but from our pool area, we have tree coverage, and the neighbors are okay, apparently.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know that we need to make
We don't-
more of an
yeah.
issue than it is, so.
So if that's okay, hi, my name's Elisa Gable. Hi.
Hello,
By the
nice to
way,
meet you.
we got to
In
speak
person, yeah.
together, yeah.
Yeah, because we were not able to come last meeting, but
Right.
we talked since, and.
Right. So I think my husband just voiced what I had said this to you when we had spoken. I guess I find it a little bit odd that, it's like neighbor to neighbor, figure out what you should do. Because I don't really, nor does my husband, we don't want to be the ones to say, hey, we wouldn't, if we were in our neighbors, the property directly next to ours, then we would see it more, and I don't know what I would say then. We may say we don't love it, but is it our decision to really make? So I guess this is where we defer back to you, as I think it's your decision.
Yeah.
based on-
It is. Oh, yeah.
See, if you had been here at 6 o'clock, you would have heard my speech about how important it is to get comments from people. And I'm
Right.
kidding you a little bit, but
Right.
yes, of course, it's our decision to make, but feedback from citizens, if you will,
Right.
and certainly from neighbors, is important.
Yeah.
And we do take it into consideration. And frankly, this is not an easy case, this one. I mean, it's not complicated, but it's not easy.
Right.
So,
But as he had, I apologize, I'm drawing a blank. Is your first name?
Hassan.
Okay, so.
yeah.
As we had spoken, had he made a garage that large,
Right.
you would have been okay with it.
I don't think he would have even had to appear in front of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it's unfortunate that you didn't do it that way, then we wouldn't all be in this position, but the view from the backyard would still be the same then, I guess, right? So it would still have been a thing. I have to tell you, and again, sorry, I had a client application that I was doing, so I couldn't get here any sooner, but I found it I find this process interesting because I'm just going to do a little sidebar here. We had neighbors behind us who have a chicken coop, and no one asked us if that was okay, and those chickens actually have come into our pool area. So that is more disturbing than perhaps this, but it was never, I never thought that this is,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but don't assume that because somebody has something going on that they've received permission from the town to do it.
I think they did. I think it
Yeah.
was that COVID period of time, and people
Well,
could maybe have some chickens.
What's the rule on chickens? Do you know? Go ahead.
They're permitted. You do have to get a permit for them.
Right.
There's certain regulations on how many chickens you can have and the size of the coop and that sort of thing.
And I'm sure they're fully regulated, but the funny thing is, nobody said, hey, do you care if there's some chicken?
Did you get a postcard, do you know?
No.
Yeah, okay, maybe you don't, I don't know how close you live to it, but
Oh, well, it's behind
but
us.
you wouldn't get a postcard
No,
if
it's
you
just
didn't come here.
a permit process. We don't
Yeah.
notify
Right.
the public for
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
I just had to throw that in, because really, if anyone had asked our opinion, I probably would have said no to that.
Sure.
Because, so I didn't realize that all of, that there are so many, that we have the right as neighbors to say yes or no, right? But this obviously is a variance, right? It's beyond what is permitted.
Right.
So I understand the request, so.
Okay,
And I think it's just your opinion is always interesting, I think, because you guys live in the neighborhood.
Right.
We don't. And so I think it's important that you have an opportunity to voice that opinion. So I appreciate you coming in and writing a letter from last week. We have your letter as well or last month.
Right.
right, the email, yeah.
So I did have a question.
Please.
If I can ask. Just the one letter that we did receive in opposition
Yeah.
a couple days ago, I just wanted to clarify a few points from there and maybe have an opportunity for you to clarify. There was some concern that there would be excessive noise potentially from this building.
I mean, I'm not buying, what I have is there already. I'm not getting anything extra that would cause noise. My car is, everything I have is already there.
So that, and then because the setback, this is a neighbor who is closer to the property line, that there would be potential runoff and landscape maintenance issues.
So my yard actually sits below both adjacent houses, and we have like a 10-degree slope in the front. I don't think it would be an issue, but if it was, I would take care of it.
I just wanted to have an opportunity to clarify those 2 points.
Yeah.
Are you able to say, was that from people on Watson Road versus Cali Road?
I actually don't know who.
130?
160.
Sorry, yeah.
160.
It's the, with the other building.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay,
actually,
so here.
my building will go right, kind of adjacent to his, or right on top of his.
Yep, right where the mouse is.
Watson.
And I don't know if they're grandfathered in, but like the 4 houses south of me all have like an additional, or a structure on the property. So visually, I don't think it would be, that one's pretty large.
Out of character.
Are we good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right.
Honestly, we
Thanks.
had
We're
a
good.
great for that, I do understand that, it was a good conversation that we had,
Yeah.
and for us, we spent a lot of money on a lot of trees that have grown nicely, and so it's not even, the view from that standpoint is fine.
And I believe that's also going to be your intent in a sense. You're going to have the landscaping to grow around it.
I just got the bill for the sides today, so.
Perfect. Is there any, Andy, do we have the opportunity, could we have the landscape architect for the town review, just this is what he's planting, and that would be, say, yes, this would help, obscure the view or things like that? Is there any issue with that?
We can do that.
Okay. That way, it's,
I'm sorry.
just, that way it's more, they're better versed at that than we are.
And are you thinking before we vote?
No. I think if,
Okay.
subject to the landscape architect's, approval for that, I think that's, he's talking about large, I think
The rears are going to be 6 foot plus.
Yep.
Which
And that-
those are the
and those-
expensive ones.
And those giant green ones grow pretty quick,
40
too, I
feet,
think, you know.
yeah. They go up to 40
Several
feet,
feet a
2 to
year.
3 feet a year.
I have them on my property, and I can tell you, they create an exceptionally good barrier. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure what you would be asking the landscape architect to do. Comment on the sufficiency of the proposed buffering?
Makes sense, yeah, so then,
Okay.
that way the applicant meets this, sufficiency to obscure the view or, make it less impactful to the neighbors.
Like provided the drawing layout and
In a sense, yeah,
everything?
yeah, and then, they review it, and then, if it looks okay to them, then it's, in a sense, it's a condition to the app, to
Yeah,
the
that's no problem.
variance.
What, the applicant would abide by recommendations of the landscape architect? Okay. And Andy, what about town engineer and the runoff issue? How could we try to take advantage of that expertise at this point?
I mean, I can have the town engineer visit the property and take a look at it. We've got a grading plan. The house is relatively new, it was just built. We've got a grading plan for that property that's supposed to address all drainage and that sort of thing. But I can have the engineer just take a look at it to ensure there's not going to be any problems.
And if I'm not mistaken, I actually don't think we've done the final C of O inspection on the house yet, or at least like we maybe have the temp C of O, which means that engineering will come out and take a look at the grading before everything is finalized and approved. So that's still outstanding.
Yeah, okay, that would be good, because the email referenced earlier does talk about potential, runoff.
I mean, there's a huge slope in the front, probably 10, 12 degrees, and it's all mud right now, but we've yet to have any water collect anywhere.
Okay, good. Well, and that's why getting the engineer involved would be
that's
helpful in that regard. And then, you've said a couple of times, and I think you did last month too, that your intent is to use this for storage and storage only.
Correct, and now that I know that I can't get a second one, it's also going to be pool storage.
Right, but I mean, you're not going to do any woodworking or anything? Are you going to work on cars in there?
No, very lightly, but I don't really have time for that.
Right, so you're going to store cars and whatever other equipment you have there, and that's it. There's, no music, no parties, no anything like that. So noise is not going to be a concern at that point.
At least nothing additional that's not already there. My kids maybe. I got
Well,
3.
yeah, we all have to live with that. Okay. And then, again, I think you addressed it, but it bears worth repeating that given your desired use for this, you really, even though it's a large variance, as folks have pointed out, you really have scaled it down as much as you can in order to achieve your purpose.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'll ask if anybody else in the audience wants to speak about this application. Okay. Nobody else? I don't see anybody on the phone, nor do I see anybody with an electronic comment. Any other questions from the board of everyone? All right, then we'll close the public hearing. We have to take a vote on that or not? Can't hurt?
Not going to hurt.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Then let's move to the consideration.
Okay, for seeker, I'm going to move this to type 2 action pursuant to seeker requiring no further review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to declare it type 2 and a second. All those in favor?
Aye. And then, George. And then for the application for the variance, I'm going to move to approve the variance, subject to, one, the landscape architect's recommendations that the applicant adhere to those after review, and that the town engineer also, on their final visits, checks for the, grading and runoff and those other factors that were brought up for the site. In terms of the merits, while it is a large variance, I think with the additional buffering from the landscaping that's being proposed, we'll minimize that impact, because it sounds like most of the impacts were a visual concern, since the applicant's using this purely for storage and not for any kind of work. In terms of the environmental, I think the only concern that was raised was the potential runoff, but the town engineer will review that as part of the condition. Yes, it is a self-created difficulty, but I think most of these variances are. And I think that I've covered all my points there.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve for the reasons stated. Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay, and a second. Any further discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming, folks.
Yep, thank you.
All right, that takes care of the tabled application, so we're going to go into tonight's new matters, public hearings, and may we have the first application, please?
Luke and Amanda Freeland, 19 Pineview Drive, Penfield, New York, 14526. Request approval for area variances under Section 250-14.3 of the code to allow an accessory storage building with less setbacks than required under Section 250-5.1-F1 of the code at 19 Pineview Drive. The property is currently or formerly owned by Luke Freeland and is zoned R-1-15, SBL number 139.10-3-64. This is application 25Z-0011.
I'm sorry, I missed that, Andy. Can you say it again?
Good evening, folks. May we have your names and address?
Yes, I am Luke Freeland, 19 Pineview, Penfield.
Amanda Freeland, 19 Pineview Drive, Penfield.
Okay. So you are seeking variances to allow a shed to be placed closer than the 10-foot setback requirement. And happened to stop by earlier today and speak with you about that. You showed me exactly where it's going to go and where you wanted to put it in the first place. So if you could tell us a little bit about that, where you wanted it and why you moved it, and what other potential locations you looked at, and what you're going to use it for, those sorts of things.
Sure. Originally, we were hoping to put it a little bit, so we want it in our backyard.
Sure.
And so originally, we wanted it closer towards the middle of our back property line, but, you know, we wanted to be considerate of our neighbors, so we spoke to our immediate neighbors behind us on Gulfview, and after talking to them, they were like, you know, that placing it there, like towards the middle of our back property line, would block their view from their front yard, which faces, you know, towards the middle of Pineview and everything. So, you know, we wanted to be good neighbors and, you know, not block their view. So we were also looking at other locations to put it as well. So when the building inspector came out originally, she said that we could have it right behind our garage or right beside our garage. But we thought that both of those locations were, you know, undesirable and unsightly and wouldn't be really good in terms of the character of the neighborhood. So after talking amongst us further, we're like, well, what if we put it in the back corner, which is where you see now? And so then we went and talked to our neighbors again in the back, and they're like, yes, that's okay, verbally. And then we spoke to the neighbors behind us, or beside us, excuse me, and they gave us approval as well. And so then we're like, okay. So then we decided, okay, since we need a variance, let's go to the board and, you know, go from there.
We also have a difficult time with where we can actually place our shed without needing a variance, because we do need a 50-foot setback from the road. And if we were to place it in other locations, like directly behind our garage, we have a really large tree in our backyard, and it might do something with the integrity of the root structure if we were to start digging to be able to lay a foundation to put the shed there. Our proposed location is tucked in the back corner of ours, and in that location, we would not need to remove one of two large pine trees that we have back there either. And we're being aware of the fact that our neighbors have a fence and they have dogs, and they've also said that it might help with their dogs coming out, like, because they get distracted by other dogs walking, that might help with some of that as well.
Yeah, you're limited, obviously, by the shape and location of your lot, being a corner lot, I guess you call it, so you don't really have a lot of area to put this. And you did have a different location at first, spoke with your neighbor, and as a result of that conversation, you moved it to a different location, which I think shows good effort on your part. What are you going to use your shed for?
We have a 4-foot wide, zero-turn lawnmower, so it's quite large and taking up a lot of real estate in the garage during the winter months, and obviously real estate in our backyard during now. Storing our kids' bikes in the winter so that if we ever do get a second car, we could put a second car in our garage. Like the hose reels in the winter, I like to reel them up and store them instead of leaving them outside. So storing of garden tools, things like that.
And you also mentioned, again, given the shape of your lot and where your children can play in the yard, if you had the shed in other locations, it would limit your ability to keep an eye on your kids when they were using the yard.
If we put it adjacent to the back of our garage, it would limit our view of watching our children play in our side yard if we were sitting on our patio. And if we put it adjacent to our garage facing the street side, then it would just be out of character for the neighborhood.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
Materials and that you're using?
It's going to be one of those classic traditional looking sheds with like the barn style roof. It's going to be like that army olive, like blend in scenery green, so it will really kind of just hopefully blend in back there. And the trim work on the shed would be a like yellow green color that's complementing the color of our current siding on our home, instead of the traditional yellow or traditional white that a lot of people use.
Okay, any other questions? All right, anyone in the audience care to speak about this? I do have a slip here. Okay, it's hard to read it.
Tamborini.
Well, the first name.
Kevin.
Oh, okay, I get it now, yeah, all right. Kevin Tamborini, there you go.
20 Gulfview Drive.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just, I'll corroborate everything they've said. We had the conversation where it's flagged now is preferable. We just have odd corner lots, right?
Yeah.
We have a very strange kind of pie, and the fence line, obviously, for the other neighbors is preventing them from the setback. So we appreciate the accommodation of moving it, and, understand their concerns both with placement and the effect it could have on landscaping. So if the other neighbors are okay and the town is okay, we're absolutely fine with where they have it staked right now.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in to say that. Anyone else in the audience care to speak about this? Okay. Well, then we will move to the consideration, as I see no other phone in or electronic comments. And as far as seeker goes, I'll make a motion to declare it a type 2 action.
Second.
I don't know.
You get to choose between Andris and I.
It was a tie.
Wow.
Just flip a coin.
That's like.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Motion to declare it a type 2 under seeker. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then on the merits, I am going to make a motion to approve this application. They are fairly substantial variances, each of them, but given the configuration of the lot, I think that they've worked at the location and they've chosen a good spot for it that will allow them to achieve their purpose in a feasible manner. If they had contact with the neighbor. So I think that Mr. Tamborini, who just testified here, shows that it's not going to have any adverse effect on the neighborhood or no environmental adverse effects at all. So I think the applicants have easily met their burden of showing the need for the variance, and I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
That was Andris that time, sorry. Maybe it was the mask that slowed you down. All right. So we have a motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. What'd I tell you, 1:45? Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good luck. All right, second application, please.
Andrew Rick, 1727 Gloria Drive, Fairport, New York, 14450. Requests approval for an area variance under Section 250-14.3 of the code to allow an accessory storage building with less setback than required under Section 250-5.1-F12B of the code at 1727 Gloria Drive. The property is currently or formerly owned by Andrew and Kelly Rick and is zoned RA-2, SBL number 111.03-1-27. This is application number 25Z-0012.
Your name, address?
Hi, my name's Andrew Rick, and my address is 1727 Gloria Drive. It's Fairport, New York, 14450. But
I know, odd that it's Fairport.
I know, right? It's the Bermuda Triangle.
I have the same thing.
And it's also a corner lot, so we got that going for us, too.
Well, I appreciate you putting through a really thorough application. Very familiar with the home, drive by it at least 2 times a day, every day. Beautiful, beautiful house, but really what you're looking for is 25 feet closer to the property line than what you're permitted. Odd lot, not a huge front yard. So from an acreage standpoint, obviously you have a lot of acreage. So when you look at it on paper, it's like, can't really find a different place for it. But then when you think about and the shape of everything, it is a little bit of a tougher situation. Is there any place else did you consider where you could put this where you wouldn't need a variance or a smaller variance?
The whole, it would be southeast side of my property is pretty wet. So it was kind of when we first moved in, we were hoping that the lot next to us would at some point open up, and we had talked to our neighbors, and we were thinking about, like holding out and waiting to see if we could put it on that property next to us. But really, the other side of our lot is pretty wet. Most of the year, it's still wet right now. It's almost, it's hard to mow. So the only other place that it really could go is out in the middle, and I think that would be an eyesore for everybody. When we moved in, we inherited it's kind of like a pile of, I don't know, brush and all kinds of stuff that we really don't need now that you guys put a dump in up the road from us, and we've been driving it up and getting rid of it. So we're trying to hope, to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and take that and make it look better, level that off and tuck it back in there so that it looks, nice, and it's the same color as the house, aesthetically. And so, I mean, yes, it has a huge front yard, but I think it would look, we measured it out and staked it out kind of where the 50-foot variance, or the 50 feet that you guys wanted it. And we have a bunch of newly planted trees there that we were hoping to, we fertilized, and we don't really want to take those out. And then we have fruit trees on the other side of that. So aside from up on the front corner, that would be that would be the only other place we could really put it. And I don't know if that would look kind of bizarre up there.
Yeah. You did speak to the neighbor to the west
Yep,
of you,
west, yep.
and I thought I saw an email or a letter, right? Or
I dropped it off actually
Did
today.
I
Yeah.
make that up? Okay. In support, and actually, not only in support, but agreed that this was logically the only place to really put the
Yeah.
accessory building.
I was standing up in his driveway looking when he explained it to me also, and if we did put it the 50 feet out, he would be looking at it. If it's weird the way that his angle is from his top of his driveway, but you would actually see a little bit less of it if it's backed off, because there are like mature trees on the property line there, and there's a good distance between us. We both kind of mow some trails, so it's not like right on their property, because they're tucked pretty far up there. So it's, it would be tastefully done so that they wouldn't have to stare at it obviously during the winter when there's no foliage on those trees.
And then what is the accessory building going to be used for?
Storage. I got 2 boats. I have a trailer sitting out on the property and a boat right now, which kind of looks, I can kind of tuck it back in the woods on the side of the driveway, but it's just everything is going in. There's going to be a mower, trailer, boat, kids, stuff from in the garage, but yeah, we jockey a lot of stuff around, obviously during the winter also, making sure my wife has a place to park. I just brush my car off, it doesn't bother me.
And then any electric or utilities or anything like that going in?
No, we discussed at one point putting just a small solar panel on one side, not the north side, the south side, so that you couldn't really see it, but it would get sun for the second half of the day, maybe a power bank, just to have a couple of, LED lights in there, but that would be down the line, and I don't think we'd need a permit for that. I didn't really go into looking into it, but.
No, but it wouldn't be a distraction to either the neighbors or nothing that would be on?
No, there won't even be outside lights on it, no.
You talked about the building, it's going to look similar, it's going to match. I mean,
Yep.
The area itself, there's, I think, a horse farm, 2?
Yeah, Black Rock Farms is across. I've also spoken with him, and he verbally said he doesn't, that's fine, you need buildings out there. Yeah, it's going to be very, very close to the same trim and siding of our house. I mean, you can't tell from how far away they're going to be, but it's pretty close. So it'll look just the same when you're driving by.
I didn't have any other questions.
You'll access the barn from your property and not Atlantic, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's drive from the corner, and I can drive in, and I won't be driving stuff in and out of there, really. It'll just be for winter storage. But yes, yeah, and it'll have a man door on the side. But yeah, there won't be any driving in and out off of that busy road. It's too, people fly up that road. I'm not coming off of there.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Nope.
I don't see any call-in or electronic submission. Anyone in the audience care to speak about this application? No? Okay, let's move to consideration then.
I make a motion as it relates to seeker. It's a type 2 seeker requiring no further action.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion under seeker to declare it a type 2 and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. And then on the considerations, I would recommend moving forward based on, it's very much, an accessory building in very East Penfield is within the characteristics of the neighborhood. It's going to be made from building material that's very consistent with what the home looks like. You have the support of the neighboring property in which this would most impact. Based on the lot and the way that it is configured, this would be the most appealing of the locations. It's really not going to be a detriment or have any other negative environmental impacts. And while, yes, it is self-created, the 50% variance isn't, in my opinion, that large for what we're talking about.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion to approve for the reasons stated and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
By the way, I neglected to say in my opening monologue there that we usually get really good, thorough applications in writing, and we get them well in advance. And that was true tonight, too. We had all the applications were all very thorough, and gives us a good chance to go through and get a really good understanding of what the application is about. So next application, please.
Alex Mutzaba, Keystone Novelties Distributors, LLC, 531 North 4th Street, Denver, Pennsylvania, 17517. Requests a recommendation of approval for the issuance of an itinerant vendor license under Section 162-6-E1B and Section 162-E2 of the code to allow the sales of sparkling devices at 1650 Penfield Road. The property is currently or formerly owned by Bill Gray's Incorporated and is zoned limited business, SBL number 138.08-1-24. This is application 25Z-0013.
Good evening. Could I have your names and addresses, please?
My name is William Chrysler. I live at 1187 Church Street in Middlesex, New York. I am we are their representatives.
Charity Chrysler, 1187 Church Street, Middlesex, New York.
Gotcha, excellent. So as always, a thorough application. I know you've done this several times before. So just a couple of quick questions on there. Will there be any external lighting on the tent outside of operating hours?
No.
Any music playing, anything
No.
like that? And I'm assuming you've got a parking kind of a arrangement based on the lot with Bill Gray's?
Yes.
So there shouldn't be any problem with parking or number of spaces?
No.
Gotcha. And I'm assuming you're aware of from the previous applications, the conditions that are necessary, things like the fire extinguishers and stuff like
Yes.
that are also, and those are all set to be adhered to as well?
Yes.
Gotcha. Again, there's nothing much on the application. We've done several of these. Actually, recently, we've done several of these. So I don't have any other questions other than that. The application was very thorough, the placement of the tent, the lighting. So unless someone else on the board does.
Any other questions?
No.
No, again, this is, I think, the third one we've had this year. They're all usually do a really good job of making sure everything goes smoothly during these sales, and they're all pretty successful, so that's good. All right, I don't see anybody on the phone with comments or questions or electronically. Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Okay, let's proceed to consider the application then.
Gotcha. For seeker, I would indicate this is a type 2 requiring no further action.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to declare it a type 2 in a second. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. And for the merits, I would indicate that this particular organization has done several of these in the past. They're well-versed. They understand the nuances of this. The application was thorough, and I would recommend approval.
I'll second that. Okay, so we have a motion to approve with all the standard conditions
Yep.
and the conditions from previous similar approvals. So any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Good luck. Thank you.
Sell lots of sparklers.
Hope so. Come visit us at the tents.
All right, next application, please. Moving right along. Wow.
Natalie Nguyen, 2209 Penfield Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests approval for an area variance under section 250-14.3 of the code to allow less parking than required under section 250-7.7-D of the code at 2209 Penfield Road. The property is currently or formerly owned by Huang Nguyen and Quang Tran and is zoned business non-retail TF overlay, SBL number 140.01-2-7. This is application 25Z-0014.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Could we get your name and addresses?
Yes, my name is Nellie Nguyen at the 2209 Penfield.
And my name is Quang Tran. I live in 2209 Penfield Road.
And I'm Jason Armbruster, owner of Armbruster Design. I prepared plans for tonight's meeting.
Great, great. Thanks, guys, for coming.
Well, I forgot to tell you the address.
Say that again?
I forgot to tell you my address.
Oh.
6630 Log City Road, Elba, New York.
Gotcha. Thank you. Welcome back.
It's been a while.
You guys just like to come every 6 months or something, right?
September.
Yeah.
That was last September, yeah.
Okay, so you initially came in here for an application, and after discussions with the town and changing things around, you are now back here, and it's my understanding that you are planning on opening a salon, correct?
Yeah.
Within your home, where you're going to live there.
Yes.
And the code says that you need 14 parking spots,
Yes.
but you are looking for 7?
9.
Nine.
So we have 9.
9. And the reason that you've gotten there is because in order to avoid the necessity for a variance for a buffer, you've shrunken the parking area, and that's why you're here, for less spots. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what are the plans for the business itself? What are you going to be doing within the business?
I mean, like, right now, like, whatever the plan is going to be, it's just only me and my husband
Okay.
doing, like, the business inside, and that's all we're asking for. And we feel like the 14 spaces is going to be, like, way too much for
Sure.
whatever,
So
just
what are you going to be doing?
nails.
Nails?
Yeah.
And how many customers at any given time do you think you're going to be having?
I mean, like, base is all on an appointment only.
Okay.
And then, like, each of the time is only, like, 2 clients, and maybe, like, another 2 maybe come in and
waiting.
wait. That's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so there's 6 spots theoretically, 1 for you, 1 for your husband, and
Yeah,
4
pretty much.
for customers. What are your hours of operation going to be?
I mean, like, we doing from, like, 10 to 7.
10 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Yes.
And do you anticipate growing the business at all?
No, actually, right now, like, no, we just kind of, like, doing to, like, the home.
Okay.
In the beginning, yes.
Are you planning on taking on any employees or anything like that?
No, because, like, whatever my property is like an overlay, and that's not going to be allowed into, and I don't have enough spaces if I want to get more employee or any kind of like that, so.
Okay.
We're just, like, working for just 2 of us.
Okay. So one of those spots is going to be a handicap spot, is that correct?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you sense any need to have more than 1 handicap spot?
I mean, like, just only 1 for needed.
I mean, truthfully, it's not a big lot, right?
Yeah, it's not, it's not.
We're not talking like
And
Wegmans.
I don't have much of a client to be like,
Is that little square the entrance right there?
Yes, the no parking area.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yep, that little square is the entrance.
So that's okay. Can I ask a
You
question about?
ask away, 'cause
Okay.
I was about to say I've got no more questions, so.
So you had mentioned just growing the business and if you have plans. If at any point in 5 years from now, you wanted to have how many chairs could you theoretically have in your square footage of the?
Right now, you mean?
Yes, how many could you build out in I'm assuming in like the downstairs or?
No, actually, like, for maximum chairs I can get inside, that's only 4.
Okay, so the most that you could even have, even if you hired 2 employees, would be to provide services to 4.
Yeah.
Even if you had somebody waiting, that's still, okay. That was my question, was more about growth and what that would look like.
But they do understand they can't have employees
Yes.
based on their zoning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the
Customary home, yeah.
operation. Yeah.
That's
That's it.
for the home occupancy variance is what we're looking for.
Right.
All right, I have nothing else.
Anything else from the board?
No, sir.
No call-ins, no electronic submissions. Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Okay, let's move to consideration.
All right, I'd make a motion to approve, or to declare this a type 2 action requiring no further review.
Second.
Oh,
I don't even know why I said it. I don't even know why I said it.
Give it to Laura.
Laura deserves it. Laura deserves it.
All right,
That's why I
a
don't play the
motion to
game.
declare it a type 2 and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And on the merits?
I would make a motion to approve this. It's right on Penfield Road. It's basically in McDonald's backyard, and it's across the street neighbors for Tim Hortons and a whole big plaza. So it's not going to change the character of the neighborhood. You've done a good job of shrinking the parking area itself so that you don't need another variance, and that's very much appreciated. It probably can't be sought by another way. I personally don't think that it's substantial at all, especially given the nature of the business. It's certainly not going to have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental. And it is self-created, but everything else outweighs it. So I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve for the reasons stated and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Good luck.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next and last application, I think, please.
Glenn Lindberg and Christina Colombo, 2169 5 Mile Line Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Request approval for an area variance under Section 250-14.3 of the code to allow a taller fence than permitted under Section 250-7.1-D1C of the code at 2169 5 Mile Line Road. The property is currently or formerly owned by Glenn Lindberg and is zoned R-1-15, SBL number 139.10-1-12. This is application number 25Z-0015.
Good evening. Can we get your name and number, or name and address, please?
Yes, sir. Glenn Lindberg, 2169 5 Mile Line Road.
Thank you. So you are here looking to construct a 8-foot fence along Braybrook Drive and your property.
Correct.
Okay. Currently, code allows you to have a 3-foot fence in that area because it's along the side of a roadway. And so you're looking for a 5-foot variance to have it taller. In your application, you spoke about the grade of the driveway coming into Braybrook has increased. Do we know how much? I asked town staff, but they don't have any means to like quantify that because the property was built so long ago. They don't have, back then they didn't do the GPS type things for the areas.
Yep. So, the natural grade of my backyard is significantly lower than the roadway as it is. I've been there since 2015. Proud resident of the town, so thank you all for your time tonight. Been there 10 years. In the 10 years that I've been there, I do believe they've paved it twice. If I had to give an educated guess, the asphalt usually adds about 4 inches each time they pave it. So it's gone up a little bit even since I've lived there in the 10 years.
Okay. No, when I drove back there, the back's area of your property seems to be more impacted by the pavement being higher than at the street side.
There is a little bit of variance along Brayboof. It starts out a little smaller, gets larger towards the rear. Again, I'm on the west side of 5 Mile Line Road. For everybody that's familiar, the whole lot is actually lower than the 5 Mile Line Road. So we're significantly lower than 5 Mile Line, and then again, even lower, on the Brayboof side.
Yep. Tell me why typically a 6-foot fence is allowed on most properties. You have a unique situation where it's 3 foot because you're adjacent to a roadway. Why 8? Why not 6? Why not 5?
Be my pleasure to explain. So again, I would have been in here 10 years ago looking for this. This has been very thought out. I just didn't have the budget to afford the fence back then. So 10 years later, here I am. Long story short, you can consider that a corner lot. We do not, for the fact that the apartments own 10 foot, about 9.5 feet from the roadway over. So again, we treat this as it's just a neighboring property. There's no driveway on that road. It's a private drive that leads to the apartment complex. And again, if it wasn't for the land being lower than the road, I would adhere to a 6-foot fence. The whole purpose of the fence is to give my backyard, which you can see is pretty open, some privacy. Christina's at a Beyonce show in Chicago tonight, so she can't be with us, but she would like to do some yoga and gardening out back, and we're pretty vulnerable to the apartments. The point of the size of the fence and the variance of dimension comes because of the fact that we want to build a sustainable fence. We want to have a strong fence that's going to last the test of time. We've all seen fences that weather, that fold, that fall, that lean. I'm looking to put up a strong fence given the commercial nature of the roadway next to us. Generally, when you go to commercial grade building materials, they jump up in size, hence the 6 to 8. But again, if we were to put a 6-foot fence in the place, you would still look over it from the road. So it would do nothing for our privacy. And that's really the thing. It would be wasted energy at that point. Because again, as a car drives by, the fence is here and you're still looking over it. So it's just not achieving anything. That 2 foot is your little bit of reprieve from the roadway. I appreciate you, Daniel, saying that, you're all inclusive, you like to get everybody's opinion, your neighbors. Again, this is long thought out. I've gotten, okays from all landowners around me. I've had meetings with the apartment complex. They came out to the site and we powwowed about it. Their only thought was that they wanted to make sure their fence wasn't going to be obstructed. And when she realized where we're going to start the fence is so far back that there's no obstruction to their signage, at that point, she really didn't have an opinion as to what we did. But I did want to get everybody's opinion. So again, I've gotten both neighbors on both sides. I've gotten the apartments behind me, and then did go through the town historic society to get, their approval as well prior to this. Again, if it was not for the grade of the land, a 6-foot fence, if we were on equal playing fields, would be just fine. Given the fact they're elevated is the only reason we're asking for that variance. When it comes to the commercial fence, again, I do want sturdy posts. I don't, I'm looking for sustainability here. I want to build a nice fence that's going to look good for the last of time. Hence the increase in sizes from a 4x4 to a 6x6. Again, the panel goes from 6 to 8 foot tall, and the slats actually go from like 1/2 inch to 5/8. I do have a fabrication background, some engineering in building code and stuff like that with the organization I work with. So this to me makes a lot of sense due to the application and the consideration of the road that we share the property line with. In addition, there's 74 units in the apartment complex behind her house. So without exaggeration, you're looking at about 140 to 150 cars a day. We've never had a problem. We enjoy them as neighbors, never been issues, but the fact remains that's quite a bit of traffic. If I was to put a vinyl fence or a Home Depot builder grade fence in there, it would be a short period of time before we're all looking at a nil fence. So again, I've saved my money and I'm looking to put a solid, good built fence in there. I've gotten my quote from New York State Fence, as I feel they're the best fence builder around. So just kind of taking it to the top to make sure that not only our property but all properties around us benefit from it. And I do believe all properties will benefit from this. Given the apartments take, they do maintain that 10 feet all the way down. Every year, they seem to be confused with their mowing crew as to where they're maintaining to and what they're responsible for. Given this fence, it's going to be a clear indicator for myself and them as to where to maintain the property. I've thought over time, again, about a lot of different fences. Originally, white vinyl fence with a white house probably made a lot of sense to me. I thought about the, I've seen a lot of examples where those posts have given way and they just don't look so good over time. So that was what brought me back to pressure-treated builder materials, something that I know I can go out and I can spray treat and I can keep and maintain that for a long time to come. I've thought about natural barriers, things of that nature. I've seen other scenarios where people, heighten the ground and put the 6-foot fence. Basically, as far as I'm concerned, all that is just added maintenance, right? So, who's going to weed whack that or mow that? Is it going to be mulch? When it comes to a natural barrier, you're going to be trimming the trees. You're going to be in there trying to struggle mowing to it, where, this fixed solution is just going to be a clean barrier for both my property and the apartments.
Thank you. In terms of being pressure treated, are you going to stain it, paint it at some point?
Yeah, I think so. So I think the key is with pressure treated is usually let it season.
For a year, yeah.
And then, again, being a standalone fence, it's not going to connect or come over to the house or anything. It's just point A to point B, just as a little privacy barrier. Eventually, I think I'll go the spray route and probably just stain it. So eventually it'll end up that dark brown, nice wood fence look over time. Again, probably 2-3 years, I would guess, before, I go at it with the paint sprayer and get that stained up.
Mm-hmm. And then to clarify, this is just running along the Braybrook Drive side, not across the backyard. Your backyard is not turning at all.
Correct. Yeah, the back of the property actually has a line of shrubs, which serves its purpose well. Small detail, but our shrubs are taller than 8 foot.
Yep.
So if we were to put a 6-foot fence in, the shrubs would be taller. The 8 foot actually does kind of line up with the natural privacy across the back line there. So it would kind of coincide in that regard.
And 8 foot currently sits below the, I'll call it the tree line, where the tree limbs come out from the trees that are there. That sits, 8 foot sits below that point as well, correct?
It does, and actually, again, coinciding to their shrubbery that they have by their Penfield sign is, again, probably 8 to 10 foot, there are arborvitaes that grow up. So you can see that last arborvitae headed west is probably 9 to 10 foot, so the fence is going to come in a little shorter than that, but it's going to have that consistent, top grade, if you will.
And where's the fence going to start in this picture? Can you?
Yeah, so if she's got her cursor on the corner of the house there, that's our living room. So basically, our proposal is to start in line with that bump out and then head west to the back of the property. So again, no obstruction to anybody turning, coming in, anything like that. Matter of fact, Allie from the apartments, when she stepped out of her car, she was pretty taken back. She goes, "You're going to start it all the way back there," because she was, I think, anticipating on the front side. Really, this is privacy for our backyard. One more added thing. I came up with this idea because we do have a burned area that went in maybe a mile from us, different town. It's in East Rochester, but it's very close proximity to our house. That's really where the idea stemmed from. I pulled in one day and I said, that's the fence, right? So it's sturdy, it's strong, it looks good, it's commercial grade, it's going to stand the test of time. Naturally, New York State Fence built theirs, so that kind of followed suit, and it's going to coincide. It's going to be the same fence. So if there was a little consistency from, throughout the town, you drive by, you see it there, you see it there, I do feel that that's an added benefit that we're not bringing in a different panel, different look. There is a little bit of similarity there.
And the fence at burned area is also 8 foot, it looks like.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was probably, I didn't have the greatest photos to share from you, but I did submit one photo of it. It was just
I think I saw it in the application, yeah, there's a photo from the front edge there.
And again, that photo kind of showed maybe a little bit of the same distance because it is about that same length. Again, our property is pretty narrow, but it's deep. And again, it just seems like a really nice fit for the scenario. There was one thing I highlighted in the application, and it says that the Board of Appeals shall take into consideration the benefit of the applicant if the area variance is granted. So what I've noticed talking to my neighbors in the apartments behind is nobody's really affected by this outside of our property. If anything, it adds a little structure and integrity to their entranceway. But the neighbors, they benefit from some privacy as well. But nobody's really directly impacted other than us. This is life-changing, not to be dramatic about it, but we're vulnerable in our backyard at this point. I mean, again, 140 cars we're waving to each day. We're friendly. I feel like we're friends with all of them. But again, if we were to do, gardening, yoga, maybe put a hot tub in, I mean, it just wouldn't be ideal given the nature, how open it is.
Sure.
And then again, 6 foot, we're going to gain a little something, but once you're in a car driving down the road, you really don't accomplish. It'd be quite a bit of money to not quite get the end result we're looking for.
Right. Because the back of your property does slope back quite a
It
ways.
continues to go down. I mean, again, we're proud residents. We love where we live. Matt's not far from us. We got the Irondequoit Creek behind our house. We're really fortunate to have that property, and we love it. It does continue to slope as it heads towards the creek. So again, that's part of the main reason is because of that slope and because of the grade on the property.
I think that's all the questions I have. I don't know if anyone else has any. I mean, part of the struggle I have is that I don't know if we've ever granted an 8 foot variance besides agriculture.
Or deers.
I mean, basically, that's all I can think we've done is for.
Like the
for deer,
RIT.
for
The
RIT, that was for, agriculture, gardening.
There's one
And there was-
over,
What was it they
Off a
were asking
hatch.
for? To keep vegetation?
It was
or-
basically, yeah, because they have a
guy coming around a curve as well. I don't know if that was 8
program there or
feet or,
something.
There was another.
you know what I'm talking about?
around
It was
the
very,
brown.
it was similar.
You were
on,
saying the old Browncroft? that one?
No, up north of Plank, off of Hatch. Trying to think of the name of the street. It's kind of a,
Similar scenario, Daniel?
That was
well,
a corner lot?
it was, gosh darn, what's the name of the street? I'll figure it out.
Andy, can I ask a question from the town's perspective? So it looks like that the apartment complex owns a strip between the street and the property.
Correct.
So from the town's perspective, how is this a fence that abuts a street?
That's actually what I was going to ask. If this was a driveway, it would be fine, but the fact it's designated a private name?
But also there's clearly a property in between the two, the one property and the road as well.
Yeah, it's more the use of the use as a street for the entire apartment complex, so.
So is it actually
So,
considered
yeah, but beyond that, so, but where they're looking to put the fence doesn't abut the street, because there's another property in between.
The way that the code is written, the requirement applies to a property line abutting a street or roadway. You're always going to have, with any street, you're going to have a little distance between the edge of the road to the property line.
Okay.
But the code is referring to any property line that's in that area that's abutting that right-of-way or that street, that the 3-foot height limitation applies to.
And that's not a town road? I'm just making sure.
It is a private road, yes.
So if that was, I mean, I'm going to throw out, if that was a shared driveway with 4 houses back there,
Probably a different story.
what would
right?
that be considered? That would just be a driveway then, right? I'm not saying that's what this is,
I
but
understand what
it's
you're saying.
kind of, I look at the size of it, it's not like it's a, when I look at the differences, it's not like a main street going in, but there's a lot of traffic that goes down it, which is what, I guess, justifies the need for this a little bit.
Yeah.
Or the
And I
desire.
think that's a good point. The amount of traffic that is going in and out of there, just by the nature of the size of the complex, it's more of a street than a driveway.
Yeah, got it, okay.
In my opinion.
We feel the same, for that fact, because of the commercial nature is the reason that I'm proposing a strong, durable fence. It's not your normal backyard situation where you got 2 neighbors, you've got cars, you've got plows, you've got people, you've got the bus stop, you've got the children bus stop, so there's quite the activity, hence the reason for, putting out the extra money and really building a solid fence for sustainability over time.
Yeah, but I mean, the point here is that this is an extremely unique situation. So, I mean, the question, I get your question, we had given this before, but I don't suspect we're going to get dozens of this particular situation that are going to happen. So, at least for me, this passes the litmus test that it's unique. And this is a situation why a variance would be warranted, in my opinion.
So the other location was Armatail, Luster, and Pewter Rock.
Okay, yeah.
I pulled it up here, and of course, this must be an old photo, because it still shows a lot of Armatail, Luster being, dirt. But I don't know if that rings a bell to anybody or not. But it was an intersection of 2 streets with, by the way, no apartments in the area and houses right across the street. I just can't remember whether that was.
I believe that was.
Maybe it wasn't a height variance, maybe it was closer to the road.
I
But in any
believe
event.
it was the same situation as far as the height. They went with a 6-foot tall fence, I believe.
Yeah, and so maybe it was even closer to the road too. But I remember very similar issues, but frankly, less compelling case than that tonight's applicant has because of the traffic flow. I mean, that's a private subdivision, well, it's a public subdivision, but it's not an apartment complex where you have that
Yeah, and
much
again, if
traffic.
you were to drive down the road, the fence is going to appear 6 foot from their side. It's going to be a little taller from our side, but from the, well, I guess it's not public, but from the private road side, the fence is going to appear normal, per usual, I bet to do.
The 8 versus the 6, I'm just, Is it 2 feet? I don't know that area very, so it's.
Very
It's actually,
Meaning
it's
the
actually
gra-
48 inches.
Is it really 2 feet lower than
The road?
the road?
You can argue.
You went out there and you
drops
saw
off,
it,
yeah.
so it
I
is
drive by it
about
every day.
2 feet, okay. I didn't know, because looking at the,
You don't see it.
I don't see it,
Yep.
and so,
Yeah, being on the property, it appears, a little more to the eye. Again, like Andris said, towards the back, it
You see it
arguably goes
in the back.
beyond 2 foot. To the front, it could be, a foot or 16 inches. So there's a little variance across the way, but I would say generally speaking, you're in that realm.
So the south side of the fence, who's going to maintain that? Are you going to maintain that, the landscaping and everything?
So the south side of the fence is their property.
Right.
So they're going to maintain that per usual. I propose that, and I got this advice from New York State Fence, that generally they always recommend not only do you build it on your property, but you usually give a couple inches so that, technically it is a 100% on my
On your
property.
property.
If I was to string trim the other side of it or maintain at least around the fence panels, I would still be on my property.
Right.
And then they would just be mowing from that point to the road.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked the question, because you don't want any fence, any height fence with weeds and grass growing on it, and people, well, you're supposed to cut that. No, you're supposed to cut. You're telling us you will make sure that does not happen.
And I've been maintaining their portion of the maintenance
Yeah.
since I moved in.
Yeah.
They do, and I don't mind. And my dad made me a deal when he retired that he'd mow my lawn, so he
Nice.
wants to mow everything over there. So we've done them the favor, and we've actually maintained their trees and their road line, pretty much the whole time. Their mowing crew comes over, we talk, they string trim, but again, it's kind of a group effort there.
You also said you spoke with your neighbors. Did that include the one across the street? I can't see the number.
It did,
Okay.
yep, Tommy, he's a paint contractor. Actually, I thought it was kind of funny because he had kind of a funny take on it, right? So I asked him, and he said, do whatever makes you guys happy. But he says, at the end of the day, let's see, he just said, what, you guys don't like staring at us? Because we do have that, 2 houses
Yeah.
where, we're staring at one another. So, not that we don't get along, there is a little distance with the road, but again, it would offer him a little privacy from us looking at him as well. So I think in that regard, he was for it. He felt that he would like to do something along that line someday, but he's tied up internal on his house, so he's not looking at the outside right now.
He just bought it, right?
Yeah, he's probably
Like
been
2
there
years?
2-3 years. Real nice guy. He's got his daughter living with him. So again, I talked to him. And then the other side of my house is actually a rental property with 2 tenants. I spoke to them both, and they basically had the same viewpoint that, we're not landowners here. We don't really have an opinion. But I also, told them, despite not owning the house, I would still like your opinion. I do want a group decision, and I want to make sure I'm not the only one seeing it this way. So I did go out of my way to get everybody involved that I could. Matter of fact, Jan is another neighbor on the block. She's a couple doors down, and we talked about it, her and I, the other day as well. So try to include as many parties as I could, and again, really haven't run into any resistance throughout that process, and then obviously going through the historical board. I think you guys seem to see it the same way.
And historical board had no issues?
No, again, kind of questioned the height and why the build and things of that nature. We talked about the location and why the location, things like that. But basically, same conversation summed up to, it seemed like it's a pretty reasonable solution to the scenario we're in.
Did we get something in writing from them, or is it forthcoming?
I think I submitted the certificate of appropriateness for it. So that is processing through the clerk's office. So I don't think you guys actually got anything from us, but I figured I'd be here if you had questions.
Yes, so what was the vote there?
So it was unanimous, not anonymous.
Anonymously unanimous?
Anonymously, yeah. It's all on video.
Very
Yes,
good.
unanimous approval. They did
Okay.
ask, it was very thorough. They had a lot of
Interesting.
questions, and their determination was just that specifically because the fence is set pretty far back from the road, you don't see, your impact from 5 Mile Line is not.
Non-existent. I
not-
think it was
yeah.
53 feet.
Yeah, it's pretty far back, so it doesn't impact the district.
Right.
And it basically starts where your tree is there, in a sense. That's about where it's starting approximately, that larger tree, at least on this aerial view.
Yeah.
Touch it, like basically the front of the house, right around there. Yep.
Yep, she's got it right there, and then again, just one nice straight line fence. Again, the reason for the commercial build, it is one long run, so, I'm not looking for any of the wavy fence. I'm not looking to come out after a windstorm and have to repair panels. I do want to build a sturdy fence first and foremost, so that it's kind of a done deal, one and done, if you will.
Right, it's back far enough from 5 Mile that, no sight distance issues either way or anything like that.
Right, again, it's basically impacting our backyard, if you
Yep.
will.
All right, any other questions from the board?
No.
No.
All right, again, I don't see any call-ins or electronic comments, so Jan Richards, you signed up to speak? Come on up.
Come on up, Jan.
Jan Richards, 2159 5 Mile Line Road.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you. I live 3 properties north from Mr. Lindbergh, and I am in favor and support this project. I like to be able to entertain in my backyard and not see hundreds of delivery trucks all day long and hear them all day long. And the other thing is, I know when school is out because the kids walk down that street, ride their bicycles across all 5 of our properties to go into the woods to party on the bridge right before Honey Creek. They dump their stolen bikes in my property. I'm picking up their White Claw bottles, their vape containers. So these kids constantly are cutting through all 5 of our properties, and it would be nice to have that. And so I'm in favor of this project, and it will look beautiful. And I think that the apartments, it will make the apartment entrance so much more attractive also.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? No? Okay. I have to tell you, well, we haven't voted or even had a motion yet, but when I first saw the writing here, I'm like, man, that's a tall fence. We've never really, except for maybe that one that I mentioned. But you did a really good job on your application and, having the support that you do. And I think you guys all did a really good job, too, of pointing out how unique this application is. So it's not as if we're going to get inundated with requests for 8-foot fence, and they're going to say, well, you gave it to him. So well done, everybody. Not that I'm hinting how I'm going to vote, but we'll see.
Are you though?
So we're all done with public comment. I'm going to move this
Yes.
to type 2 action pursuant to seeker.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. And then to the variance, I am going to move to approve the variance for the 8-foot fence. I never thought I'd say that, but I guess
I never thought I'd
we've
hear
never had a situation
It's
that
a
actually.
situational thing, and again, it's stated in the application that, each one of these cases is taken case by case.
Yep.
And I just appreciate your time to go over and understand our scenario and what that grade really looks like, so thank you for
Yeah,
that.
oh, yeah, absolutely. The nature of this, I guess, this private drive, it is a heavily trafficked private drive, and as one of the neighbors stated that we didn't even bring up before, all the delivery trucks, there's all the Amazons, the UPS, the FedEx, all that comes in and out of there on a daily basis, as well as in addition to the cars that are
Plows
going in
in the
and out.
winter.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of, traffic coming in and out of there, which really doesn't provide any privacy or safety to your backyard along that route, except for those few trees that are across the front, but not so much towards the back. And the grade difference does make a difference here in terms of the heights. From the roadway in the back there, it won't appear to be an 8-foot fence as it does if it was a level ground for this case.
Historic board?
Historic board found no issues with this in terms of that. They also said that primarily because it was far enough.
Even though it was an anonymous.
It was anonymous. They all voted to approve, and they all, or a condition of appropriateness, because they also stated that this was far enough back from the road that it really wouldn't impact the historic nature of the street as well. I think I've covered all of them. Self-created, yes, I guess this, all of our applications are pretty much self-created. No adverse impacts were identified. This won't affect drainage or any of those kind of things. The sight lines won't be impacted here because it's far enough back from the road. It really is to shield the backyard. That's all I got.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion to approve for the reasons stated and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, congratulations, well done.
Good job.
Thanks for coming in. That was the last application. Good job, everyone. Wow, 7:30 with all that. So we will, now, our next meeting is not the third Thursday, right? It happens to be the second or third Tuesday for whatever reason, but.
Juneteenth.
Oh, there you go. All right. Okay, very good.
Which day is it?
Tuesday the 7th.
Tuesday the
6:30.
6:30.
At 6:30, oh, that's good to know.
Lot of changes. All right, well, thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.
Good night.